And at 10, Future Flash. The Future Flash is certainly a powerful version of Barry, but he's not really from another reality, but from an alternate future that he wants to prevent from happening, hence why he's at number 10. The Future Flash is a version of Barry Allen from the future who blamed himself for the death of Wally West. So in an effort to correct that mistake, he tries to prevent this tragedy by killing people. Yeah, he starts killing his enemies to gain enough speed to travel back in time. He starts by killing Gorilla Grodd with like a little microbomb that he phases into his head, and then eventually he kills enough people that he can travel back in time to kill one final person, himself. His goal this whole time was to travel back to before Wally dies and kill his old self, preventing any of this from happening. At least that's what he thinks is gonna happen, which is honestly a pretty awful plan if you ask me. But based on how he killed his entire rogues gallery, essentially in order to gain enough speed to travel back in time, makes him seem pretty damn powerful, and honestly, really scary. Like, if you're willing to kill another version of your past self or whatever it is, okay, you need some therapy or something. I mean, it still sounds like a paradox to me, like I don't think you could actually kill yourself, but hey. And at 9, Kingdom Come. Wally West from Earth 22 is really powerful, but it comes with a major downfall. In the Kingdom Come universe of Earth 22, Wally West received his speed through unknown means, but nonetheless he still became the Flash, obviously. When Superman retired though, Wally kept going, but he kept going and never stopped, running from scene to scene, disaster to disaster, never taking a break. This ended up somehow just making it so that he could never stop running, having to constantly run as fast as he could, resulting in appearing to everyone as just a red blur, classic Flash style. But while this is powerful, he literally cannot stop, so there isn't really much benefit to it. However, he didn't end up killing himself or traveling back in time to kill himself, so you know what, in my books he's more powerful than Future Flash, even if he can't stop running. I mean, like, at least the cops or death can't really catch him that way, right? Like, do you think like as he gets older, like he slows down, like to a point where he shouldn't be able to stand, but he's still running as fast as like your typical 23-year-old jogger, but like he can never stop? And it ain't Mercury Flash. Mercury Flash is a robotic version of the Flash made by Dr. Tornado as a member of his Metal League. The robot uses a mercury-based physiology, whatever that means, that makes it able to somehow channel the Speed Force. I don't understand how this man not only learned about the Speed Force, but was able to replicate or siphon it using mercury or whatever, but who cares? It's comics. It doesn't need to make sense as long as it advances the plot. First being introduced in the Multiversity Guidebook #1 in March 2015, this version of the Flash can do everything the normal Flash can do powers-wise. Because, you know, he's a robot, he can't really do, human-like activities. And has the added advantage of, you know, being a robot, so he doesn't really fear death. Not only is it not coded into him, but he also is just straight up being able, you can repair him. This version of the Flash hails from Earth 44, and honestly I kinda wish I was him. No responsibilities, only running super fast. That's the dream. And at 7, Black Flash. The actual physical representation of death for all speedsters, and honestly maybe a couple other people, but they just don't see him coming. Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in The Flash Volume 2 number 138 in 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force but was unsuccessful, taking Wally's girlfriend Linda Park instead. I mean, like, based on past experiences, Wally, feel like he did you a favor. But since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash returned to try to take Wally again, freezing time for everyone who didn't have a connection to the Speed Force, which is a total dick move. Like, first you take my girl, and now you're still trying to get me? Like, bro, at least give me my girl back. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters, including Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, and Jesse Quick, Wally was actually able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to apparently have no meaning, which I mean doesn't really make total sense because as long as someone is still living, death would still matter, but oh well. It's comics, like I said. But that didn't stop the Speed Force, because later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline, becoming the new Black Flash, until Professor Zoom took over the title after, you know, he was raised in the Blackest Night storyline. Yeah, there's been a lot of Black Flashes. And at 6, DARKSEID War. What's more powerful than a speedster death? What about actual death as a speedster. That's right, in the Darkseid War storyline, Barry Allen becomes the host for Death, also known as the Black Racer. Through Barry, Black Racer kills Darkseid and Barry fights off Black Racer, escaping from his grasp. Barry runs away, but the Racer gives chase, staying mere inches behind him. When Black Racer catches up to Barry, he explains that he must have a tether. If he doesn't, the entire world will end and everybody will die. He shows this world to Barry, and Barry accepts the power. He has to kill someone though to let the universe continue to live. So then he appears in front of Iris. As he does, the Black Racer bursts out and tries to kill her, but Barry once again frees himself from the manifestation of death, but this time using his own weapon to kill him. Killing Black Racer seemed to be the answer, but instead, Barry Allen had freed Death. And since it no longer had a tether, it wiped everyone out. Yeah, Death isn't as cool and collected as the one from Supernatural. But luckily this was all happening inside of Barry's head. So when he comes to, he accepts the responsibility of Death and becomes in essence just the Grim Reaper, the last thing that anyone sees before they die. And honestly, that's pretty damn powerful if you ask me. And also, kind of my dream job. Halfway through into number 5, SAVITAR. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I feel like I need to include one of the most interesting evil speedsters in the show. SAVITAR, while sharing a name with another evil speedster from the comics, is actually revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen in the show. Being more of a future Flash than SAVITAR, I mean he's kind of both. It's weird. He also didn't come back to kill Barry, he came back to kill Iris. His story is pretty messed up. In essence, making himself and having like a classic chicken and the egg scenario. Which came first, SAVITAR or the Time Remnant? Neither, they both kind of made each other. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, SAVITAR comes back from the future after escaping a Speed Force prison to kill Iris West before her and Barry can get married. This causes Barry to create as many Time Remnants as he possibly can because he is willing to kill himself in order to save Iris. Yeah, the SAVITAR kills them all because he's a future version of Barry. He knows what's gonna happen. Except he spares one. The one he spares is gonna become SAVITAR because he gets shunned by the rest of the team for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he is still the real Barry Allen. Whatever. So in an act of fury and rage, the Time Remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed, known as SAVITAR. But the suit he wears also allows him to travel at basically instantaneous speeds, and it's also existent and non-existent at the same time. And the show version of the Flash has not been able to do that at this point. He's not been able to travel basically instantaneously, even in recent seasons. And he's only visible to other speedsters. Normal people can't see him, at least while he's trapped inside the Speed Force prison. I don't think they really went over that afterwards, after he got out. But hey, whatever. And at 4, Speed Demon. Recently I wrote a list about the Amalgam universe that combined DC and Marvel characters, and the Speed Demon comes from this universe. A combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Barry Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. The demon component of Etrigan was also formerly Jay Garrick, because Night Spectre stole Jay's soul, which is kind of rude because that's my thing. Anyway, the Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his attempts to collect the souls of pure and the most corrupt, and I mean also again that sounds like a pretty sweet deal, but Blaze Allen refused. So in an attempt to persuade him, I guess in a way persuade him, at his wedding night, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul, and then he asked Blaze to do it, and then he did because he wanted to get his girl back, or at least make sure that she wasn't going to be killed or something. But I mean yeah, that's not how that works. Speed Demon also speaks only in rhymes, and whenever I do that people get mad at me, but I don't care. This is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe fire. So yeah, Wally West, which is an amalgam of Wally West and Danny Ketch, was also the next Speed Demon who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back. But I mean come on, a fire-breathing, speeding ball of fire and lightning? That sounds incredibly badass. Getting close to the end in at number 3, GODSPEED. August Hart is the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash. While going after a criminal organization known as Black Hole, August was struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. So, after this, August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got his revenge on the one who he suspected to be his brother's killer. He had given up on the justice system since his brother's killer had gone free, and with his newfound power, had the ability to become judge, jury, and executioner. August realized after he had gotten his powers that he also had the ability to steal other speedsters' speed, though for a time could only do it by killing them. He practiced this skill enough to be able to do it non-lethally, but like, you know, he still was killing people. So with his new godlike speed, August was able to move so fast that he could create duplicates of himself at any given time, allowing him to give the illusion that he and Godspeed were two different people, which is pretty damn sick, considering the alternatives are Speed Mirage and Time Remnant, which aren't really the same thing. And I mean, the CW show also did kind of adapt this with all the Godspeed clones during the Godspeed War storyline, which I mean they should have went into more, but oh well. Penultimately, in at number 2, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster that is an evil combination of Batman and the Flash, which already sounds terrifying, but wait till you hear his story. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but Robins kept dying left, right, and center. So understandably, Batman got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his methods, which honestly just seems more realistic to me. Now, aside from him just, you know, quitting fighting crime. This eventually leads him to Barry, who he tries to get speed from. But Barry refuses to give Bruce his Speed Force powers. So Batman uses various rogues' weapons to fight him and knocks him out. Once Barry was unconscious, Bruce tied him to the front of a cosmic treadmill-powered Batmobile and drives them both into the Speed Force. And then when entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce end up fusing together into a Batman with super speed, while Barry's mind was trapped inside Bruce's body. And you know, of course Bruce gets to drive. He also then gets a visit from the Batman Who Laughs, and who they try to recruit him into conquering the multiverse. Anyway, eventually he gets exposed to a large dose of positive energy, which allows Barry Allen to take control. Gotta love those positive vibes. And then he helped in the fight against the Dark Knights, but also the positive energy kills him, and Red Death explodes. Finally, in at number 1, White Lantern. While Barry Allen became a White Lantern at the end of the Blackest Night storyline, he became in essence a god. I described this in the most powerful Green Arrows list, but hot damn do these dudes have some sweet powers. They can use any color from the spectrum of light, since white light is just a combination of all the others. I'm sure you've seen the album cover, or at the very least the Eevee version of the album cover, and you know, the White Lanterns also have power over life, including the ability to duplicate their rings and resurrect people. Basically anything you think of, they can do it. It's absolutely insane. The White Lanterns are basically God, but with many different avatars. White energy blasts, force field generation, energy constructs, energy twins, ring duplication, mind alteration, wormhole generation, time travel, invisibility, resurrection, just to name a few. Yeah, it's so overpowered that I'm surprised that DC didn't just explode after that. Like, imagine you could play as like a White Lantern in Injustice, but like an actual White Lantern, not like a recolored Green Lantern. Oh, damn.
Number 10, Speed Demon. Coming to us from the Amalgam universe, a parallel universe that is composed of mashups of some of our favorite Marvel and DC characters, that was unfortunately destroyed thanks to the cross-multiviral conflict, comes Blaze Allen, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Once a stunt rider working at a carnival, Blaze Allen becomes the Speed Demon following the death of his wife at the hands of the evil Night Spectre. He was convinced by Merlin to bond with the demon known as Etrigan, and from there, the entity known as Speed Demon was born. Granted the abilities of Ghost Rider, including his fiery powers as well as super strength, Speed Demon is not actually all that fast despite his name and lineage. While the character is a formidable fighter and an all-around powerful being, he falls very short in the speed department, especially compared to all the other speedsters. There have been other characters that have taken up this mantle, including both Jay Garrick and Wallace West, however all of their abilities seem to be similar to the originals. Check out Blaze Allen for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1996's Speed Demon, number 1. Number 9, Deceased Flash. Now a member of the anti-living, Barry Allen, formerly known as the hero The Flash, is exactly what you think he is, a zombified speedster. When the anti-life equation begins spreading worldwide, Barry went into hiding alongside Kid Flash, until they were found by Superman and Green Lantern. Leaving Wally in their more than capable hands, the Flash sped off to the Daily Planet where he encountered an infected Giganta. Thankfully though, she was taken down with a blast to the head from Cyborg. Soon after, we see the Fortress of Solitude turned into a shelter for the uninfected heroes. However, an infected Martian Manhunter was able to make it through, and not only did he kill Lex Luthor by just ripping him in half, he infected the Flash with a scratch to the back as well. Barry immediately ran out of the fortress because he didn't want to hurt or infect anyone else, and it didn't take long for him to become fully infected, and he started attacking the remaining survivors all across the world. He was finally stopped by Superman after the two collided into each other at full force, killing the speedster right then and there, but not before he was able to infect the Man of Steel. Give this storyline a read for yourself, starting with 2019's DCEASED, number 1. Number 8, Barry Allen Out of Time. Hailing from a possible future, this iteration of the Flash is a much darker Barry Allen from 20 years in the future. This future Flash first appears in the Flash Annual Volume 4 number 3 as a broken man. Reeling from the death of a close friend and fellow speedster Wally West, Future Flash travels backwards through time on a crusade to murder all the former enemies he deems responsible for West's death, hoping to somehow change the future. His actions only widen a tear in the Speed Force, however, and the once hero ultimately decides to use a present-day Barry Allen's energy to seal the rift, proving his superiority in a one-on-one battle against himself. Because apparently the Flash is like a fine wine and only betters with age, the pair are soon interrupted by the arrival of Wally West. Able to take on both speedsters at once, Future Flash's actions caused the one thing he began his quest to stop: the death of Wally West. Give the storyline a read for yourself, starting with the Flash Annual Volume 4 number 3, and let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Number 7, The Rival. Real name Edward Clare, the Rival is the arch-enemy of the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, and is one of the oldest speedsters around. Clarence was a professor at the university Jay Garrick went to and believed that he had the know-how and means to recreate the speed formula that gave Jay Garrick his powers in the first place. He was able to develop a drug derivative of the same formula called Velocity 9, and after taking it himself he gained the powers a speedster would have. However, he found out that they were only temporary. He became the criminal that he is because his findings were rejected by his fellow science peers, and decided then to don a darker version of Jay Garrick's costume and commit crimes under the name The Rival. After losing to the Flash the first time, the Rival resurfaced a couple months later, and during his battle with the Flash, he was somehow able to reach light speed and just vanished and was stuck traveling through the Speed Force until he was pulled out by Johnny Sorrow. Check him out for yourself in his first appearance in 1949's Flash Comics number 104. Number 6, Dark Flash. Walter West is essentially an identical version of Wally West, just from another timeline, with their two histories mirroring each other's up until one certain point. Walter's version of Linda Park, the girlfriend/wife of Wally, is killed during a battle with Cobra. Turning him into a very bitter speedster and eventually the Dark Flash, Walter develops an authoritarian zero-tolerance policy for criminals, going so far as to cruelly maim them if they denied his actions and got in his way. Eventually, Walter learned that the love of his life was still alive and well in another timeline, and he set out to defeat Wally West and completely replace him. Able to easily take on his alternate timeline counterpart, Wally, who is often considered the fastest character to take up the Flash mantle, which further extends the parallel between the two. Check him out for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1999's Chain Lightning finale, Finish Line. Number 5, Johnny Quick. A member of the Crime Syndicate of America, an evil version of the Justice League hailing from Earth 3, Jonathan Allen is Johnny Quick, the Flash of this universe. After conquering the entirety of Earth 3, the Crime Syndicate of America decided to abandon their Earth to terrorize and take over Earth 1 and 2. It took the combined efforts of the Justice League and the Justice Society of America to stop them, although unfortunately for everyone that wasn't the end of their reign of terror. Now, Johnny was initially depicted as being slower than the Flash, however he figured out a way to make up for his shortcomings by developing a helmet that vastly increased his top speed while also deepening his relationship with the Speed Force, making Johnny Quick more than a match for the Flash. Since then, Johnny has shown tremendous command over the Speed Force, defeating countless superheroes in a matter of microseconds in the Forever Evil storyline. It was only after Alexander Luthor, aka Mazza, stole his power that he met his end. Check him out for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1964's Justice League of America number 29, or feel free to skip ahead to his newer iteration starting with 2013's Justice League Volume 2, number 23. Number 4, The Red Death. Once the hero of Gotham, Bruce Wayne from Earth -52 was forced to seek more extreme approaches to prevent crime after losing all of his Robins. Coming to the conclusion that he wasn't quite fast enough to fight crime, Bruce set his eyes on the Flash, deeming himself more worthy of the Speed Force than Barry Allen, which is pretty presumptuous, but okay, whatever floats your boat. After defeating Barry, Bruce strapped him to the front of the Batmobile and drove them both into the Speed Force using the power of the Batmobile combined with the Cosmic Treadmill. The two merged together and Batman became the Red Death, using his new powers to kill instead of just stopping crime, much to Barry's dismay as his consciousness was still very much alive in Bruce's head. Like all of the Dark Knights of the multiverse, the Red Death represents one of Batman's fears, this one being losing members of the Bat family and his love for them and regret for those he failed. His dialogue and his Speed Force infection also imply he might represent Batman's fear of old age slowing him down as well. Check him out in his first appearance in 2017's Dark Days, the casting, number 1. Number 3, Reverse Flash. No, we're not talking about Eobard Thawne, we're going to be looking at the second Reverse Flash, Daniel West. Daniel ran away from home at an early age because of his abusive and drunk father, and by the time he was 18, he had fallen into the wrong crowd and was a small-time thug. All he wanted more than anything was to mend his relationship with his sister Iris, but after his first attempt he was thwarted by the Flash and sent to jail for 5 years. When he got out, he wanted nothing more than to kill his abusive father because he felt that was the only way he could make amends with his sister, and gained his Speed Force powers that allowed him to travel back in time after a monorail crashed, and from then on he called himself the Reverse Flash and killed anyone who had a connection to the Speed Force so that he could drain their power. It got to the point where the only two left with a connection to the Speed Force were the Flash and Iris West, and Daniel was able to go back in time to attempt to kill his father. However, it didn't really work out, because his younger self and Iris caught him in the act. He then realized the error of his ways and turned his powers over to the Flash, who set everything right once again. Check out this Reverse Flash for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2012's The Flash, Volume 4, number 0. Number 2, Black Flash. They say death eventually catches us all, but what happens when you're too fast even for death itself? Well, that's where the Black Flash comes in. Easily one of the most mysterious entities in the DC universe, Black Flash is a symbol of death for speedsters across the multiverse, appearing just before the death of every significant speedster. Able to easily keep pace with the fastest beings in existence, it seems death really is impossible to outrun, even for speedsters. The Black Flash first made an appearance when Wally West seemingly cheated death by using his speedster powers to escape the inevitable. When the Black Flash realized he needed a human host to properly function, he chose Linda Park as his host. After Flash Rebirth brought back Barry Allen from the dead, he also noticed that the Speed Force was changing him, and it was revealed that the Reverse Flash's actions had mutilated the Speed Force and was turning Barry Allen, its avatar, into the Black Flash itself. The entity that could turn any speedster to just by touching him. The current host of the Black Flash mantle is Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash. Check out this Horseman of Death for yourself, starting with 1998's The Flash, Volume 2, number 138. Number 1, Godspeed. August Hart was the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash, so while going after a criminal organization called the Black Hole, August was struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. He became the Flash's quote-unquote partner, but in secret. August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got his revenge on who he suspected to be his brother's killer. Godspeed is basically what the Flash would be if Barry Allen had one bad day. The Flash refrains from using his lethal force, but Godspeed doesn't at all. Godspeed's argument is that Central City would have been a much safer place had the Flash shown some bloodlust. He proves this point when he kills Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash, who didn't have any speedster powers at the time. Thawne did get his revenge eventually though, because after Barry brings back Thawne via time travel, that Thawne kills August. Man, keeping up with that whole time travel and speedster thing is so tough. Either way, Godspeed is one of the most deadly and dangerous enemies the Flash has ever had to race against. Check them out for yourself, starting with 2016's The Flash Rebirth Volume 2, number 1. Number 10, Wally West Super 7. Wally West of the Super 7 isn't necessarily darker in terms of actions, it's more so what happens to him in this universe. Don't know what the Super 7 is? Well, it's a team made up of the remaining Justice League members after the League was disbanded because of an evil alien bandit invasion. At first they were able to hold the invaders off, but when the alien leader Grendel issued a decree that every time a metahuman was seen, they would kill 1,000 people, and then 5,000 more when one tried to fight back. A lot of heroes decided to step back from the hero game, but not the Super 7. Wally was one of the few superheroes who dared to continue to fight, but unfortunately for him, his legs were broken and nearly destroyed completely during a riot, leaving him unable to run, which is, kind of his whole thing. Embarrassed and inconsolable, Wally moved to Seattle and took up the new identity of Jay Allen. However, it didn't take long for the Super 7 to find him and convince him to rejoin the fight. Wally is initially reluctant because he can't run anymore, and he reveals that he actually destroyed his own Flash suit, but don't worry, he still wore the Kid Flash ring. Eventually he decides that joining the team once again is the right thing to do. However, it doesn't end too well for him because he winds up getting impaled by a spear while saving the Green Lantern. Check out this sad Wally West for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1994's Adventures of Superman Annual number 6. Number 9, SELA Allen. From the name alone you can probably guess it, but SELA is obviously a descendant of Barry Allen. However, she didn't have any powers. Her father was actually the wielder of the Speed Force, and that led to some pretty unfortunate events. In the year 2231, the Cold-Blooded Blue, who was the rival of her father, managed to capture all three of the Allen family, and he crippled SELA and killed her mother while her father was forced to watch. When her father was finally able to save SELA, he took her to the edge of the Speed Force in an attempt to heal her, as the damage done to her body was so extreme, but unfortunately it didn't work. 8 months later, her father was killed while fighting Cold-Blooded Blue, and somehow SELA managed to emerge as a physical form of the Speed Force. While her real body is technically still in the Speed Force, her conscious state exists as a manifestation projecting itself. Although she doesn't have an actual body, she has all the powers of the other members of the Flash family and took up the mantle of the Flash, just like her father and those before him. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with 1999's The Flash, Volume 2, number 146. Number 8. Velocity. Also known as Overtake, this evil clone of Jay Garrick was created by none other than the Brotherhood of Evil and Monsieur Mala and sold to Ratu Brennan, dictator of Mali, and Ratu used him to guard his chemical weapons. With all of the same powers of the Flash minus the actual connection to the Speed Force, Velocity is absolutely not someone you want to go toe to toe with. Not only is he fast, he is incredibly sharp and able to think quickly on his feet, as he has shown that he adapts his fighting style based on the type of opponent he's fighting, and when he's up against teams, he quickly pinpoints the strongest member and takes them out first. He is first unleashed on the Outsiders when they're discovered by Brennan. The Speedster comes close to defeating the team when Metamorpho attacks him with acid and manages to overpower him. He's later taken by Green Lantern, who states that the Outsiders cannot be trusted. Give this evil clone story a read for yourself, starting with 2006 Outsiders Volume 3, number 35. Number 7. BRYAN Mallory. Now, if you're not familiar with the Legends of the Dead Earth storyline, it was a grim crossover event spanning across many DC titles that told stories of a possible future where the Earth itself had died long ago and its heroes were gone with it. However, the heroes still left an impression on history, and their stories and legends were passed down in various ways. Many, if not all, of these legends were spread around the universe by the Martian Manhunter himself, as this was his way of honoring the lives of his departed friends. BRYAN Mallory was one of the lucky few to receive powers from the Martian Manhunter, and he became the Flash of this frozen planet. Now, more specifically, the Mallory family were the receivers of the book and the gift, and it was their duty to pass it down the line to the eldest born son, BRYAN, as their worship of the Flash's life and the Speed Force allowed him to access the quote-unquote light, the power from which would save and sustain their people. With all the powers you would expect from a member of the Flash family, BRYAN used these powers to not only avenge his father's deaths, but also to save his people. Check out BRYAN in his one-off appearance in 1996's The Flash Annual Volume 2, number 9. Number 6. Baroness BLITZKRTEG. A member of the Fourth Reich, a team of some German ideological villains, comes Baroness BLITZKRTEG, a lesser-known speedster who never really used her powers for good. Alongside Shadow of War, Count Berlin, Baron Gestapo, and Captain Murder, the Fourth Reich was formed by Vandal Savage for the purpose of killing off descendants of the patriotic heroes of the Golden Age. Baroness did her share by targeting and eliminating several of Commander Steel's descendants, and after that she went on to target Stripesy's son, Mike Dugan. Thankfully though, Jay Garrick stepped in before any more blood could be shed. Since she hasn't made many appearances in the comics, we're not 100% sure how fast she is or what other speedster powers she possesses, but by no means does that make her any less evil. Now, it's also heavily implied that she's related to Baron BLITZKRTEG, an enemy of the Golden Age team of heroes All-Star Squadron. However, it's never really been confirmed or denied. Check her out in her first appearance in 2007's Justice Society of America Volume 3, number 2. Number 5. Inertia. Thaddeus Thawne II, aka Inertia, was created by Thaddeus Thawne in the 30th century as a clone of Bart Allen, aka Impulse, mixed with just a little bit of Thawne's genetic material. Now, unlike Impulse, who aged at an accelerated rate, Inertia was allowed to develop normally. Growing up, he was brought up to be patient and methodical and was taught by the elder Thawne to hate the Allen family with a burning passion, which ended up happening. I don't know, maybe it's genetic or something. The plan was for Inertia to travel back in time and replace Bart Allen, which you probably guessed didn't work. Thaddeus has the ability to alter time relative to himself rather than using the Speed Force like most of the other DC Universe's speedsters out there. He can apparently use this ability to move at speeds rivaling those of even Wally West, the fastest of the Flashes, and usually faster than the speeds that even Wally can muster in most cases. Since Thaddeus isn't actually moving at super speed, the temporal nature of his speed allows him to avoid the usual problems encountered by the other Flash-type speedsters like friction, seeing and hearing at near light speeds, and more. Although he hasn't made much of a mark during his time in comics, he's still done some pretty bad things, like when he gathered a group of Bart's rogues after Bart became the Flash, who just straight up beat him to a pulp. Check them out for yourself, starting with 1999's Impulse number 50. Number 4. Hunter Zolomon. The second Reverse Flash, who has also gone by Zoom. Hunter Zolomon was a police profiler who was paralyzed in a battle with Gorilla Grodd. When Wally West refused to go back in time and prevent that accident, Zolomon tried to use Flash's cosmic treadmill to do it himself, resulting in a terrible accident that gave him his time-altering powers that mimic super speed. He also for some reason decided that the reason Wally West wasn't willing to take those necessary risks was that he hadn't endured the type of tragedy that Barry Allen had. Zolomon proceeded on a dark path intent on killing Wally's wife, Linda Park, so that Wally could finally become the hero that he was meant to be. I briefly mentioned this before, but instead of super speed, Hunter was granted time-altering powers that mimic super speed, meaning that he doesn't have a connection to the Speed Force. Instead, he uses something called localized chronokinesis, which is essentially a version of time travel that allows him to travel at speeds that rival Wally West. Unfortunately for him though, he was depowered during the events of Final Crisis, likely preventing us from ever seeing him at his fastest. Now why not give his story a read for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2001's The Flash Secret Files and Origins, number 3. Number 3. Black Racer. Otherwise known as the God of Death, the Black Racer is very similar to the Black Flash in a way because he is the physical manifestation of an aspect of death. What sets him apart from the Black Flash though is that he has one huge advantage. The Black Racer has the ability to possess a host and corrupt that person. This means that the already fast Black Racer can take hold of any of the top speedsters just like he did with Bart Allen that one time. The only thing scarier and faster than an evil Bart Allen is an evil Wally West, which the Black Racer is also fully capable of creating. Heck, even without possessing a speedster, the Black Racer has nearly caught up to the Flash on several occasions using his infamous cosmic skis that allow him to reach some ridiculous speeds. Now unlike most versions of Death, he actually serves a master, which is DARKSEID, who has proved more than capable of keeping the Black Racer under his control. Check out the Black Racer in his first appearance in 2015's Justice League Volume 2, number 44. Number 2. SAVITAR. The self-declared god of war and enemy of the Flash, SAVITAR is just yet another super speedster in the Flash's rogues gallery. He was once a Cold War pilot and received his powers after his plane was struck by lightning at top speed. Discovering that he could now defeat the enemy by moving at super speed, he became obsessed with speed and named himself SAVITAR, which is Hindu for god of motion, and dedicated his life to unlocking its secrets. He honed his powers and achieved abilities that no other speedster had yet mastered, like he learned how to transfer speed into objects and people, as well as how to almost instantaneously heal his injuries. Obsessed with gaining more followers, he became the leader of a cult known as the Thunderbolt Agents and used them to his benefit. One time he even gave them the speed of some of the Earth's greatest speedsters. He then sent them to murder Wally West, Max Mercury, and XS, among others. Thankfully though, DC's top speedsters rose to the occasion and were able to apprehend SAVITAR and his cult as well. Considering how fast and formidable SAVITAR appears to be, this big baddie is fairly unused. His ability to learn from and manipulate the Speed Force in new ways suggests that his potential has hardly been touched. Check him out for yourself, starting with his very first appearance in 1995's The Flash, Volume 2, number 108. And coming in at number 1, the Reverse Flash. Now since we talked about the other Reverse Flashes, I thought we should talk about the original one, Eobard Thawne. Also known as Professor Zoom, Thawne was once the biggest Flash fanatic to ever live, even going as far as to recreate the reaction that gave Barry his powers, and having an operation done so that he could look just like Barry Allen. He really just wanted nothing more than to meet and befriend his hero. Now his killing tendency came up not long after that when he killed the cashier at the Flash Museum so he could use the holy grail of all Flash memorabilia, the cosmic treadmill, to travel back in time to meet his hero. Unfortunately there was a bit of a miscalculation and he ended up appearing several years after Allen's death. Distraught and very upset, Thawne escaped to the Flash Museum to get some answers, only to find out that he was destined to become the Flash's greatest nemesis, Zoom. And needless to say, he didn't really take that news well, and this sent him down a dark path. Capable of basically all of the things that the Flash and his Speed family can do, you know, like time travel, super speed, and electrokinesis, what really sets him apart is his ability to completely negate another's connection to the Speed Force, effectively stripping his fellow speedsters of their power and rendering them useless, honestly. Now if you're not familiar with this legendary speedster, check him out in his first appearance in 1963's The Flash, number 139.
In a 10 Reverse Flash. Now I know what you're thinking, but isn't Eobard known as the villain Reverse Flash? But he's a villain, he's not Barry. Okay, look, alright, I get it. In the main continuity, yes, but in the dark multiverse Flashpoint story, Eobard actually becomes the Flash, and he kinda became his own form of hero in a way, like a dark, twisted, messed up hero hellbent on eradicating the human race and just subjugating all superheroes to his will, but hey, that's still kind of a hero, right? Technically it counts. And I mean, like, he's still scary and another version of the Flash, so yes, it does. This is a universe where Barry Allen dies while trying to get his powers back with Flashpoint Batman, aka Thomas Wayne. But he dies, and The Reverse Flash kind of takes his place. But once he tries to stop the war between Aquaman and Wonder Woman by threatening them and killing Arthur, you know that there's going to be some hell to pay. So he sets out on shaping the world into his own image. This involves preventing Batman from ever becoming Batman and instead creating his own superhero team full of versions of the characters we know and love, but all with Reverse Flash logos somewhere on their suits usually. And I have to say, preventing Batman from being created is probably the smartest thing that Eobard has ever done, or could have done in this situation, because either way, no matter who becomes Batman, Batman is always going to lead some form of resistance. So by eliminating Batman being created, you stopped just a resistance rising against you, so good on you. And at 9, Gorilla Grodd Flash. Grodd Friended Me is the 13th episode of the 6th season of The Flash, and is the 127th episode overall. In this episode, Grodd comes to Barry as a projection of Joe, and tells Barry that he is aware of his progressions made post-crisis. He asks Barry to assist him with getting to the Gorilla City that is now on Earth Prime, so he can at least be happy among his own kind, because currently he was locked up at Argus. Barry realizes that they have to try something new and overlook the past, and they need to work together to beat the Salivar that is in Grodd's mind. Barry and Grodd combine their brains briefly, giving Grodd super speed powers. Barry tells Team Flash what's going on, and Frost discovers that on the off chance that they don't end up separating their brains the exact moment that they escape, they're both going to die. While in the Mindscape though, Barry educates Grodd on how to utilize his speed against Salivar, and he succeeds with Barry's help. Barry awakens in reality, successfully disconnected from Grodd's mind. So yeah, a telepathic psychic gorilla with super speed after combining with the fastest man alive, yeah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog. Actually though, it was a pretty sick episode. And at 8, Speed Demon. Speed Demon, first introduced in Speed Demon number 1, is, aside from what your ex-girlfriends might have called you, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon, and yes, there are multiple. The demon component Etrigan was actually formerly Jay Garrick before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his mission to collect the souls of the most pure and the most corrupt, which just sounds like a dream job to me, but whatever. Blaze Allen refused, so in an attempt to persuade him at his wedding, Night Spectre stole his wife's soul. He stole Iris's soul, yep. Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back or at least ensure her safety, but of course, he pulls back. That's not gonna happen, bro. Speed Demon speaks only in rhymes, but is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe hellfire. Wally West, an amalgam of Danny Ketch and obviously Wally West, was the next Speed Demon who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back. It's interesting because, like, I would give up my soul for super speed? Are you kidding me? And the ability to breathe fire? Speaking in rhymes is great. Yeah, that's right. You better not hate. And at 7, Mercury Flash. Mercury Flash is a robotic version of the Flash made by Doc Tornado as a member of his Metal League. The robot uses a mercury-based physiology, whatever that means, that can make it somehow able to channel the Speed Force, and like the actual Speed Force, not even a fake one. I don't understand how this man not only learned about the Speed Force, but was also able to replicate or siphon it off using mercury, but whatever. It's comics, okay? You don't really need an explanation as long as it helps the plot. First being introduced in the Multiversity Guidebook number 1 in March of 2015, this version of the Flash can do everything the normal Flash can do powers wise, but because, you know, he's a robot, can't really do human activities, but he also has the added advantage of being a robot, so he doesn't really fear death. Not only is it in his code to not fear death, but he can also just be repaired. This version of the Flash hails from Earth 44, and I kinda really want to be him. No responsibilities, only running super fast and drinking motor oil. That's the dream. And at 6, SAVITAR. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I had to include this one, okay? He's one of the most interesting speedsters on the show. SAVITAR, while sharing a name with another evil speedster from the comics, is actually revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen, being more of a future Flash than actual SAVITAR. He's a combination of the two. His story is pretty messed up, in essence making himself to have a classic chicken and the egg scenario, as Cisco would put it, where he caused himself to be created. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, SAVITAR comes back from the future to kill Iris West before her and Barry get married. This causes Barry to create as many time remnants as possible in order to stop him, but SAVITAR kills them all except for one. The one that he spares ends up getting shunned by the rest of Team Flash for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he still technically is the real Barry. It's weird. So in an act of fury, the time remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed called SAVITAR. And then he comes back. He burns his face at some point, and then he tries to kill what would have been his wife, and he like remembers remembers everything, he's in love with her, but he still tries to kill her. Yeah, I don't get it, but it's still pretty damn scary. Halfway through into number 5, Black Lantern Reverse Flash. The Black Lantern Corps is a group of various dead superheroes and villains alike who were raised by Nekron and each given a Black Lantern ring. This ring grants them power over death, and these rings are powered by the Anti-Monitor, as he is present within the Black Lantern power battery. Those raised by the Black Lantern ring are in essence resurrected to where they were before death, but their mind is warped to serve Nekron's purpose. Those with the ring have various powers, including a healing factor, aura recognition, which allows them to see powerful emotions, energy spectrum assimilation, which lets them extract the hearts of individuals that they've slain and then use their last feelings to charge the central battery and their ring by 0.1%, and they, much like zombies, can infect others by biting them. A bite from a Black Lantern will slowly kill the one bitten, and then would turn them into Black Lanterns upon death. Basically zombies with superpowers, in addition to being an evil speedster, so definitely not something that you should be trifling with. And at 4, Johnny Quick. Johnny Allen, also known as Johnny Quick, is a criminal speedster from Earth 3. Together with his girlfriend and partner in crime Atomica, he was a member of the crime syndicate. Johnny Allen was a high-profile criminal on the run with his equally criminal girlfriend when he was cornered on the roof of Central City's Star Labs. Allen was struck by a bolt of lightning which shattered the roof, and the duo fell into the lab space below. With Allen landing amid the chemicals, something in this incident granted him super speed, and went on to become a powerful supercriminal alongside his girlfriend, who also had been empowered. While his girlfriend took the name Atomica, he took on the name Johnny Quick. And he ran through the city, answering to no one, until the day the White House burned. Around the time of DARKSEID's incursion into Prime Earth, the being that had destroyed Ultraman's Krypton came to Earth, and an alliance of supercriminals formed to find a way to safety. Now my question is Johnny Quick the reason Johnny Quick became a speedster? There's the whole storyline where Barry Allen runs so fast that he disintegrates, but then he also time travels and becomes the bolt of lightning that gives him his powers. So technically, did that also happen to Johnny? Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Godspeed. August Hart is the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash. While going after a criminal organization called the Black Hole, August was also struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. So August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got revenge on the one who he suspected to be his brother's killer. He had given up on the justice system since his brother's killer had gone free, and with his newfound power and the ability to become judge, jury, and vibrating executioner, August realized that after he had gotten his powers that he also had the ability to steal other speedsters' speed. Though for a time he could only do it by killing them, he practiced the skill enough to be able to do it non-lethally as well. With his new godlike speed, August was able to move so fast as to create a duplicate of himself at any given time, allowing him to give the illusion that he and Godspeed were different people, which is pretty damn sick, considering the alternatives are Speed Mirage and Time Remnant, which aren't technically the same thing. Time Remnants just create evil versions of yourself, apparently. Penultimately, in at number 2, Black Flash. The actual physical representation of death for all speedsters, they just can't see this guy coming. Okay, well, they can, but you know what I mean. Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in The Flash Volume 2, number 138 from 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters, including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force, however was unsuccessful, taking Linda Park instead, Wally's girlfriend, which after past experiences, Wally, I feel like he probably did you a favor. But since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash returned to try to claim Wally again, freezing time for everyone without a connection to the Speed Force. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters, including Max Mercury, Jay Garrick, Jesse Quick, and Wally, Wally was able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to have no meaning. In the CW, Black Flash was Hunter Zolomon after the season 2 finale, and was killed during season 3 when SAVITAR lured him out of the Speed Force and Killer Frost froze him, resulting in her first kill that actually turned out to be her ex as well. Dare I say, ice cold. But that didn't stop the Speed Force anyway, since later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline in the comics, becoming the new Black Flash, until Professor Zoom took over the title after his corpse was raised in the Darkest Night storyline. There's a lot of things going on. Finally, in at number 1, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster that is an evil combination of Batman and the Flash, which already sounds terrifying, but wait until you hear his story. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but Robins kept dying left, right, and center, so understandably he got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his let's call them methods, shall we? Which honestly seems realistic to me, aside from just quitting to fight crime, but that can't happen, otherwise they wouldn't have a story, right? And DC wouldn't make any money. This eventually leads him to Barry, who refuses to give Bruce his speed, so Batman uses the various Rogues Gallery weapons to fight Barry, knocking him out, and then tying him to the front of a cosmic treadmill-powered Batmobile and drives them both into the Speed Force. I don't even know how that happened logically or why that would have worked in their world, but whatever. You do you, Bat Marty, we gotta get you back to the future. When entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce end up fusing together into an evil Batman with super speed and a lust for killing, while Barry's mind was trapped in Bruce's body. He then gets a visit from the Batman who laughs, who just makes him even crazier and wants to help him conquer the universe, or the multiverse even. So yeah, that's that. He's number one.